Good afternoon, students.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, right. So, as a part of the history of modern world, 1871 to 1964, we already discussed some introduction part overall the syllabus, and I will give you some of things regarding this paper again, and because this period 1871 to 1964, which comes under a contemporary world, contemporary part of history, so that we'll see the things which happened basically in and around 1871, like the 1871 is a base year where the unification of Italy and Germany has taken place, and then you see some rapid changes taken place in the world up to the end of Second World War, 1945. Okay, so due to the unification of Germany and Italy, which created certain tension in the world, overall the world, and Europe also. And due to the attitude of Germany and Italy, two major world wars also taken place, and the attitude of Germany and their extreme nationalism, which leads to the first World War, and next the attitude of Mussolini and the attitude of Hitler, which main responsible for the occurrence of Second World War. Okay, so likewise, this unification of Italy and Germany created a lot of tension in the region of Europe. Okay, so we already discussed all those things, and once again, I have to share my screen about the syllabus, and then I'll continue my lecture. Okay. So, as a part of Module 1, it is about rise of imperialism and rivalry among colonial powers and imperialist hegemony over African and Asian countries. And we have to see the political conditions of the on the eve of the First World War. Okay, so we have to see the things which happened in just before the First World War, how those events are things which are responsible for the occurrence of First World War. Okay, so these we have to see as a part of Module 1. Apart from this, I have to give you some more things regarding the contemporary world, and then I'll start my explanation with each and every concept we have in the syllabus. Okay, so if you see any history of any country or region of the world, it is generally divided into a specific periods and sub periods also. Okay, so the history of the whole world, or history of India, or history of any region, may be division into some phases. Okay, so according to the time and according to the duration, you can change, you can divide this history into certain phases because easily remember and easily read out or write. Okay, so this is done on the basis of some specific criteria, and one criteria which is common in writing of traditional history and traditional historical writing is to divide the history of a particular nation in terms of the dynasties that ruled over it. And in the sense, we have the history of India, which divided into the such periods also. Okay, so like ancient, medieval, modern, and contemporary, like that. Okay, so as a part of world history also divided into the same basis, and those can be subdivided into certain periods like Manchu dynastic period and Tudor and Bourbon dynasty in the England, and likewise you see certain sub dynasties also. As a part of Indian history, you can divide it into the Mauryan age, Gupta age, Mughal period, Delhi Sultanate. Like you see subdivisions also. Okay, so as a part, as a like you see in the world history also. Okay, so this kind of division is still common as the period of the rule of a dynasty provides a convenient chronological period for the study. And the division of history into periods is also based on another criteria of division, like the Renaissance and Industrial Revolution, which denote broad chronological periods in the history of some countries. Okay, so but the criteria of the division in the case or developments in certain aspects of cultural and economic life rather than the dynastic or political. Okay, so when you see such divisions, unlike the divisions based on the dynasties, and indicate broad periods and not specific dates and years as developed in the culture and economy, cannot be traced back to any particular date, or do not they end on the specific date. Okay, so when you see some example, the example from the Indian history, the period of the rise of Indian nationalism cannot be ascribed to any one particular event taking place on the particular date. And sometimes division into periods is done on the basis of the countries. We have, for example, the history of England. Let us set in the 15th century, the 16th century, and the 17th century, and so on. Okay, so another more important kind of division of history in the periods or simply periodization is done on the basis of demarcation of stages on the development of society. And this kind of periodization, each period denotes not only a broad chronology, and but a distinct form of society and economy, political system, and culture, and has a well defined character of its own distinguishable from the other periods also. And the broadest commonly accepted periodization of the history, most centuries and of the world as whole, is the division into ancient, medieval, modern periods. Okay, so in the terms of chronology, these periods vary from country to country as society in different countries and regions moved from one stage to another at different times. Okay, so when you see it as an example, in the history of Western Europe, the ancient period came to a close by early centuries of Christian era, and the medieval period began when new form of social system characterized by feudalism. Okay, so in the last class we also had some example of the feudalism in the world and also in the Indian history. Okay, so where the Western Europe, the in the history of Western Europe, the ancient period came to close by early centuries of the Christian era, and the medieval period began when new form of social system, which characterized by the feudalism, began to take some shape. Okay, so similarly, the medieval period in the history of Western Europe may be said to have ended by the 15th to 17th centuries, and modern period began with the decline of feudalism and the emergence of a new kind of social system called the capitalism. Okay, so when comparable developments, when you see certain comparable developments which denoting the passing of one type of social system and the emergence of new one in another in other countries or regions, you may say in Asia or Africa, took place in at different times. Okay, so the specific chronology of ancient period, the medieval period, and the modern period differs from country to country and region to region, and the territory to the territory. And it should also be remembered that the ancient period are the medieval period in the history of all countries does not have the same characteristic feature. Okay, so you see some the features are different from one region to the another and one period to the another also. Okay, so there are variations in even in many essential features of social and economic life and political system and cultural traits. And when you see the medieval China or medieval India does not similarly denote the same kind of society and economy also and political system. But in medieval Europe also you find some differentiation. Okay, so because you see some different cultures in the Asia, and you see the somewhat differentiate or distinguished culture at Europe and Africa. Okay, so you cannot see same race or same cultural things each region, every region. Okay, it's depend on the certain things, geographical aspects, and many things. Okay, so and thus however, while periodizing the history, the world as whole are ignored for sake of convenience and new forms of society and economy. Okay, so even though they might have emerged only in one region of the world or taken it to mark the beginning of the new world. Okay, so when you see the contemporary history as a part of world history, uh, as a part of contemporary world history, you can have some things, and then we move with one concept and another. Okay, so we go with concept by concept from rise of imperialism then onwards. Okay, so before that, I will give you some common features and the common features which you find in the contemporary world. Then, because you already completed the things up to 1871 as a part of as a paper in the semester one. Okay, so no need of recap those things again. But I will give you general things before starting with our initial concept. Okay, so I will give you the features of this contemporary world and modern contemporary modern world, and then continue my lecture. Okay, so the period of world history, which is beginning from the 15th century, generally regarded as the modern period. Okay, so the term modern, which is applied to this period, implies that it would cover the developments from its beginning right up to the present time in which we live. And until 2 or 3 decades ago, the historians generally were generally to write about the period in which they are even their contemporaries. Okay, so contemporaries live. Okay, so many histories of the world written and taught in the 1950s, 60s, and even 70s would stop even earlier in 1918 or 1914, respectively, and when the First World War ended and began. And some of the reasons for the doing so were very sound, and many important sources which the historian requires write the history of the period in which he is living would not be available to him. Okay, so when you see as example where many important official papers regarding the activities of government are open to historians for the study only after a lapse of 50 years. Okay, so and many people who are involved in the formulation of policies in activities of government, such as the prime minister, ministers, and officials, maintain diaries of their activities and notes or write their memories. And as these we can see as a part of sources. Okay, so these diaries and memories, generally we call as the private papers, are generally not published in the lifetime of their authors, and even when they are published are made public care taken to see that such portions as may show them the government in a bad light are not published or made available to the history. Okay, so these we may call as a source for a particular period or a particular time. Okay, so the official records and the private papers also often deal with matters of sensitive nature or with the person still living, and making them public may cause embracement to the government or the individuals. Okay, so such you find the number of sources, and even though in some cases you also find non-availability of such a relevant sources of information, and the historians, if he is too be true to his profession, and would rather not venture to write the history of recent years. Okay, so he can take some evidence, and on the basis of the evidence or source, he can write. Okay, so but sometimes if we find non-availability of particular sources, like a primary, it differently depend on the secondary sources, and you can assume, you can interpret the available source, and you can write or give you certain information regarding the contemporary. Okay, so and we'll see the how these things where and one more problem while reading about the world history as a part of contemporary, and a more serious problem which arises while studying the contemporary history is the one of the historical perspective, or as one of the historian has put it of knowing what happened in the end. Okay, so and historian dealing with events of earlier period, you can say that the civil war in England or the Battle of Plassey knows how the events ended, and is also able to see the long-term consequences of those events. And one cannot write with the same certainty about say the end of the Cold War. Okay, so he had to assume, he have to provide some interpretation, right? So based on that interpretations only, he definitely comes to the conclusion. And since there was the possibility that one so historical study, and since not enough time to elapsed to provide sufficient historical perspective, some historians thought it was not safe to write even the history of the 19th century. And example from recent history will see this problem basically. In 1928, as a scholar wrote an article on capitalism for a new edition of that, and in the article he wrote capitalism is still accused responsibility for avoidable unemployment arising from periodic alternations of alternations and depressions in trade activity, booms and slumps. Okay, so it is certain, however, that though there must always be some tidal movement of rise and fall, and the former violence of these rhythms is now much debated, and this have some uh, drawbacks also, and you see some gaps. Okay, so all those may be fulfilled, and all those may be rectified with further readings and moving with sufficient or the availability of sufficient material and such. So but we'll see what is contemporary history basically. Okay, so how you can say the contemporary history to be. Okay, so there are many different answers to this question. And Similarly, it might mean only the history of what is already happened at the moment of writing, or a record of events through which the historian has lived. Okay, so how we can define the contemporary? Uh, because each and everything which happened in the past comes under that history, and where you cannot see the recorded person there. Okay, so anybody recorded the events, and he maybe his records maybe his records may be available, and the person is not available because he maybe died for many number of years, 100 years like that. Okay, so as a part of contemporary, you see, you also get the writings as well as the writer. Okay, so you'll see the records of the events and also the historian who recorded the events. Okay, you get the both things as a part of contemporary. Okay, so the views also you'll see, and the views which given by historian also you'll see. Okay, so the historian or writer, you will they may be alike. Okay, so here, the historian has lived, and but most historians consider it to be a specific or specified period of history with its own specific characteristics, in the same way as ancient history, medieval history, or even modern history. And some historians consider recent modern history to be a contemporary history. Okay, so according to one historian writing in the early 1960s, our era has such a well-defined character that it is possible to speak of contemporary history in a specific sense, and hence it is the crucial years from 1945 to present day, which can be regarded as especially the speed of contemporary history. Okay, so according to another historian, describing the period from 1917 to 1945 as the first stage of contemporary history, has stated contemporary history begins with great October Socialist Revolution of 1917, which taken place in the Russia, and this revolution provided the impetus for radical change in the fate of mankind and its transition from the domination of exploiter classes to the elimination of exploitation to the establishment of social justice. And many Western historians consider the years between 1914 and 45 as the domain of contemporary history, which is perhaps a reflection of the view that the European developments were to the history, which is perhaps a reflection of view that European developments were central to the history of the world. In 1965, a French historian published a book titled Major Controversies of Contemporary History. He studied 65 contemporary his controversies converging the period from 1914 to 1945 by analyzing 11,000 published works by personal interviews. Most of the controversies dealt with certain events of European history. Okay, so where a few concerned as US policy, Europe and two related Japan relations and relations with Russia and US. Okay, so no other part of the world figured in the book. Okay, so such drawbacks also you find when you move or go with very deep like that. Okay, so when you see some other characteristics about the contemporary, the main characteristic feature of contemporary history, as indicated just before, is that the world has become integrated in a way it had never been before. Okay, so one a feature you can have, you can see particularly in the contemporary. So that we where all countries which is comes under some integrated policy, the same you cannot see in the past. Okay, you cannot see in the ancient or medieval or the modern, and there are still many things that divide the world, and there are countries that have highly developed economies, and and there are also the countries with extreme economic backwardness, and there are ideological and political divisions such as capitalist, socialist, and others also. And much of contemporary history has been a history of confrontation and conflict. In spite of these divisions and conflicts, the common problems of mankind have become common concern of all. And the contemporary history is characterized by tremendous changes in every aspect of social and economic and political life, and in every area of human activity. Okay, so where it's maybe divided into, it maybe gives you certain things which happened in between 1940s and 1950s. Okay, so where the usage while calling with one person and another, they using certain suffix like my dear prime minister of so and so country, and it's like a affection you see in between particular countries or the allied countries, better to be called as. Okay, so the friendly countries, they use some of the love and the terms which shows love and affection in between the particular countries, first of all. Okay, so and as a part of contemporary world, you also having certain terms like Cold War, Civil War, superpowers, military blocks. Okay, so these are new concepts you'll see as a part of modern world, and the basic things you will get like where you find some democratic principles and republic form of governments you will see, and the terms like equality, fraternity, sovereignty, which emerged during the contemporary period itself. And the period also saw the emergence of USA and Union of Soviet Socialist Republic like USSR, present Russia, as the world powers or the superpowers, as they are commonly called. Okay, so thus world politics has been completely transferred during the past 100 years as a part of the contemporary world. Okay, and there have been changes in the nature and functions of the particular state, the world over new forms of the states and the world over which emerge. And in spite of many differences between the different forms of the states, and the powers of the state everywhere have increased and state now plays many more function that it did not you will see in the past. Okay, so there is much more active participation by the people in the political affairs of their own countries and in the making of history than ever before. Okay, so you are well known that the League of Nations is one of the proposal from the Woodrow Wilson from USA, and there are certain peace conferences also which taken place at Hague, I think in and around 1870, like that. Okay, so first Hague conference, second Hague conference, which is which concluded, conducted by the rulers of Jars of Russia and many other European countries, and where the American countries were not participated at the time. But whenever the proposal comes from the America, like USA, the Woodrow Wilson's proposal, many countries has responded. Okay, so many countries have signed. So according to the Woodrow Wilson's proposal, um, the League of Nations has started in 1920, and the proposals from the USA, Britain, and USSR and other countries, where the ENO has started in 1945, still it is existed. Okay, so such things which is happened in the contemporary world, and not only that, there have been tremendous changes in the economy and the society in the world over. The industrial revolution, which began in England during the last decades of 18th century, had spread to a few countries of Europe, North Africa, North America by the end of the 19th century. And in the 20th century, industrialism has become worldwide phenomena, and the advances in science and technology have been so far reaching and fundamental that we often speak of them as a revolutionary. Okay, so such and where all societies have been undergone some major transformations, and the continuously changes has taken place as a part of modern world, and there has been be called a rowing of secularization of the political and social life of art and literature and of ideas. Okay, so although some parts of the world continue to be with the sectarian conflicts and violences, and there has generally been called the growing impatient demand for greater satisfaction in man's present life. And the most significant characteristic of this contemporary history, which is increasingly becoming the dominant character, is that awakening to a sense of world community in which all were inescapably involved, as already been mentioned. And there has been growing common concern over the common problem of mankind. If any problem arises in a particular nation or world country, and a number of countries responding. Okay, so response is negative or positive, but response is coming from a number of countries which are joining or which far away from the particular nation. Okay, so there is certain concern has happened, concern has taken place in the contemporary world, and the chief of these problems has been common danger, that development of thermonuclear and other weapons of destruction pose to the very survival of human life. And as a part of contemporary history, you are well known that certain weapons has started, like hydrogen bombs and nuclear atomic bombs or bio. bio weapons, which you well known using these countries, okay, nations, while any battle or wars are taken place. Okay, so that is also a common thing which you find in the contemporary part. And there are other problems such as those of poverty, backwardness, of overpopulation, and more recently, but one that is increasingly recognized, of environmental issues, which if any issue arises, and these under a platform of UNO, and the world nations are comes under one platform, and combinedly solving that problems. Okay, so even at the same time, you also see opposing countries, and you also see certain problems like the terrorism, and many liberation movements also you find where you see it as a drawbacks as a part of contemporary world. Okay, so these are the things we'll see, because our syllabus is up to 1964 from 1871. Totally covers modern and contemporary part, and I will give you rise of imperialism, from the rise of imperialism and up to the emergence of non-alignment movement as a part of our syllabus. Okay, so these are the things about the contemporary and the modern world history. And dear students, this is end of my class today. And you have any uh, clarification or any doubts regarding the history of modern world, now you are welcome to ask me. Students, are you hearing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, regarding the world history, history of modern world, based on my today's class or explanation, if you have any clarification or doubt, now you are welcome to ask.
No, sir.
No? Right. So thank you. And once again, I am reminding you, please register for the a talk which to be conducted on 23rd at 11 a.m. And you can register through the link which posted in the group, and you also joined with the link of Google Meet, which to be posted half an hour before the session starts on 23rd. And by attending the meeting, by attending the talk, you definitely get one e-certificate, participation certificate instantly. Okay, so the certificate immediately after filling up of your feedback form, you will get e-certificate to your mail. Okay, so don't forget to register. Please register and attend the meeting, right? So, students, thank you very much. I am ending my class, and I will meet you on Monday again, right? So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.